have an exciting new project that we're gonna start today.
So we've got some strips of wood and we've got a glue gun. We are gonna be building a dodger.
Yes. Hopefully none of this is gonna blow away while we're working on it. We're gonna build the rest out of marine ply and then see how it fits. Hey guys, so we are at a pretty good stopping point with the interior of the boat. We're trying hard to balance between working inside and working outside the boat so that by the end of it, both are done close to about the same time. And we spent the last couple of days working on the insulation, and now that that's done, we want to shift and take advantage of the sunny day to work outside. And so today we're going to be working on the cockpit, starting with reinstalling the stern solar arch. We're not going to be replacing that. We're going to be using the same one that we've had because after spending 2 or 3 years with the original one and it seriously started to fall apart.
We have it lashed together in about 3 places. I just hope it survives the night.
We've had already designed and built a stronger, better solar arch bimini pulpit that fits so much better on the boat already that there is no point replacing that. So we're going to be doing that today, but before we install it on Uma, I'm going to be polishing the heck out of it so that every single millimeter is shiny and new and beautiful. Well, I'm glad you feel here, not here.
Well, let's try that again.
Let's try this again. Ready.
That was
Cool.
bueno.
Hello.
The fall just like opened up my pants.
Does it hurt?
I don't think it hurts now.
You don't think it hurts? Well, guys, we have an exciting new project that we're going to start today.
Yeah, we are going to be building, well, starting to build
Our Dodger.
our dodger.
Yes.
For the last 10 years we've had this boat, we've had a fabric, like a soft top up here. And it's super useful because it keeps like splashing and wind and waves out of the sort of front of the cockpit area. So it's a very like protected place to sail from. It also provides a bit of shade. It provides a bit of protection when the companionway is open. And we took it off as part of this rebuild, and we've been contemplating what we're going to replace it with. And we've been working on some designs, and I think we've got a pretty good idea.
Yeah. So our Dodger that we had was perfectly fine. It's still good. The quality of the fabric is still, for some reason, even after many years,
Yeah.
is still pretty great. But we've decided to go with a hard Dodger for many reasons.
Yeah, there's a specific design. There's a specific design. There's a specific design decision that we made that changed our minds from going from a soft dodger to a hard dodger, because we've been contemplating it for a long time, but we just never came up with a design that we liked, that was kind of functional and practical, that was, you know, significantly better than just a soft dodger. But for now, we've got some strips of wood and we've got a glue gun, and we're gonna start kind of mocking up the physical shape and size of what we're trying to work with. We've got a model done, and we've got, you know, it in VR. We spent a little bit of time like kind of walking through it in VR and kind of seeing if it's something we want. And now it's time to start putting it into a physical reality.
Yeah.
So
Today is mainly templating.
yeah,
Everything.
trying to get it to where it kind of should be, and then we'll take that template and turn it into something more secure.
Yeah, we're trying to get the full advantage of all the sunny days, because when it's
Yeah.
not sunny, then we can work inside, and when it is sunny, like today, we get to do as much as we can outside.
Yeah, let's get started.
Let's get started.
Doesn't really show much.
Doesn't it? Oh, it shows plenty. That's our dodger, guys. We're done.
It's a little bit airy.
Yeah, that's the point. Like a lot of ventilation. No, this is basically, we're done with the preliminary preliminary phase, just to give us an idea of what
Yeah.
we're looking for.
Yeah, because the problem is like the model we're working off of on the iPad is it's based off of like a 3D scan we did on the phone of the boat, so it's like not that accurate, and it's hard to judge in a model like what the proportion and scale and height and everything is. So this is like 50% of the shape and size and location
And angles.
of what we're thinking about, and there's a lot more like tweaking and adjusting to do to make it just right and make it look right and make it fit right. But the sun's going down, it's getting dark and cold, and so I think it's good enough for now, and we will pick this up again tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a slow process, but we're gonna get it right.
So we're going to try and finalize the design for the hard dodger today. But before we can do that, there's some things that we needed to make sure would work. One of the big changes that we're doing is we're bringing the aft part of the Dodger back a little bit. Before, it used to stop somewhere right around here. And so that's kind of a major difference. So before we wanted to commit, we wanted to make sure that there's going to be enough space for the main winch, one of the main winches. So we brought it here to see if it would work. Yeah, so we just wanted to double check, triple check that if we do put the winch back where it was before, slightly further back, but then there'll be enough space to use the winch, but also enough space to walk around. And now that we know that it's gonna be good to go, we can start finalizing this design. So we're gonna keep putting together some of the small sticks for template, and then we'll switch over and try to do something more sturdy like plywood. It is very windy today, but it's gonna be raining at the end of the week, so we have a couple more days to make sure that this is finalized. Hopefully none of this is gonna blow away while we're working on it.
Two of the other things we're trying to sort out before we can call this template finalized. When we built this initial one, we just sort of like put something together to see what it might look like. But this forward window is too wide. It just doesn't look quite right. The side windows and this forward window should be similar, like square footage, so to speak. So we need to bring these sides in a little bit, which will increase the angle of the side windows a little bit, and I think it'll look a little bit nicer. And the second thing is, let's back up a little bit. The second thing is we've been trying to figure out how to match like the Dodger to the original sort of shape of the hull. And by sitting it on top, sort of how the old Dodger was situated, this is the rail that the old Dodger used to slide into. It means we have this sort of weird multiple curved surface, angled, lining up to something that's going to be flat. And so I think the plan now is going to be to extend this panel all the way down to the deck. And so it's going to just be one flat surface to this corner here, and then we can make a new corner that this front panel bends around. And that way it's going to be more homogeneous, and we don't have to worry about all these weird intricate shapes. We just backfill it with foam, glass it over, and call it a day. So that's the other thing we're going to try to figure out today. But it's going to be really difficult this way. It's blowing at 30 knots today, so I don't know what we're doing with these thin plywood out here. Glue guns trying to keep it down, but got to get it done before the rain comes back.
This is the track for our old Dodger. We definitely won't be needing this anymore, so I don't think it matters if it breaks.
This is, I think it's called turtle shell. It goes over top of like the sliding companionway hatch. It's very large and doesn't need to be quite that big. And also this whole front section is gonna be like half in and half out of where we're gonna be building a Dodger. And so we kind of need to like build the Dodger and then figure out a way to sort of reattach this in some better way. But for now, it just needs to come off. Try to get it downstairs without falling off. So the first template that we built for the Dodger out of these little thin plywood strips was really just to like get an idea of the physical volume that it's going to take up, and to make sure things like the winch was going to fit and the height was right and that the theory might end up working. But it wasn't very accurate to like build the actual Dodger off of that template. And so today we're rebuilding the entire thing out of some cheap 12 mil plywood, since that's going to be what we're going to make it out of in the end. We've got marine ply that's also 12 mil that we've been building the inside with. So we're going to do another mock-up and sort of a test build, an experimental build out of cheap plywood, and make sure that all the shapes and all the angles and everything is just right, while we can like mess it up and recut it, and then use this template, the second template, to make the final pieces out of marine ply. And then we're going to glass it all into the boat. So that's the plan for today, is kind of build a test Dodger out of plywood. We want the top of it to be curved, so like water flows down on the side and forward, so it's going to be angled forward just a tiny bit too, so when it like rains it doesn't just all come straight into the cockpit. And so we're trying to get the top of this to sort of match the curves of the rest of the boat, but we still have kind of, well, Kika will still have standing headroom underneath it.
Yeah, because if we made it with your height, it'd be way too tall.
It would look like a Beneteau. But you don't need standing height underneath it, because like we have to duck and crawl to get into the companionway anyway. So there's really no reason to have standing height underneath the Dodger. But I do want to be able to, the trick is that I want to be able to see over it while we're standing here and helming, and Kika needs to be able to see under it while she's standing here and helming. So it's kind of a balance between the two. Knowing we can always like stand up here like we used to and helm if we want like really good visibility, like when we're docking. So because we're outside during the day, we're kicking it old school and using string instead of the laser level because you can't really see it very well, at least not for long distances. So now we're just trying to figure out how non-symmetrical our boat is. I've got a pin at the bow. I'm using the Cape Horn, the side of the Cape Horn in the stern, which is like roughly centered. And we're running strings to find like the center line of the boat and then kind of the angle that we want the top to be at, and we're going to try to basically build a reference grid so we can actually make this thing as square and symmetrical as possible, even though the boat's not quite symmetrical. Our cockpit's off by about a centimeter from the center line of the boat side to side, which actually is pretty good. But now it's just a matter of, do we make the Dodger line up to the boat or do we make it line up to the cockpit? Probably the cockpit.
Well, we are done with about half of the plywood template, but now that we know exactly the height and the design that we want it to be, we're gonna make the rest out of marine ply now because it should be symmetrical. At least that's how we design it. We designed it to be completely symmetrical. So the next step is to disassemble this template and then build a proper Dodger out of marine ply. We're basically building the final piece.
We might reuse this kickstand. Alright, and then do you want to just take those two?
Well, it turns out we don't have enough plywood to cut everything, so we're gonna head over to the lumberyard before the weekend so that we have enough for the whole project.
That's a shape.
Is it a good shape?
It's hard to tell. I mean, it fits. Now it's just a matter of like, if it's cattywampus. Well, we just finished building sort of final version out of marine ply, and we made everything symmetrical, hoping that the boat was symmetrical enough that it would fit. And we just screwed it all together and lined it up the best we could. And it looks like right now we're off by So this front corner is about 3 millimeters lower than that one, and that back corner is about 1 millimeter higher than that one. So pretty freaking good. This was like the very first time we kind of screwed it all together. So I'm happy with that. We'll have some more adjustment to do and make sure everything's like as symmetrical as we can. It's very difficult with pretty much zero frame of reference. We've got like a pseudo center line of the boat, and we've got level, which is level to the water line and everything else we're doing. And that's about all we can work with. So as long as it's close enough, we'll be happy. But yeah, it looks looking pretty good. All the angles lined up. We stuck with 45 degrees on the front because that makes everything super easy. It's super easy to cut. But yeah, that's probably all we're gonna get done today. Next step is gonna be fiddling and adjusting it and then kind of bogging it in place so we can glass the outside and then glass the inside. Pretty happy with that. Looks good.